Good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Yun, cross-asset reporter of the company named Cross Asset Korea. Okay, all right. Um, I'm going to talk about Korean stock market. So, how can you actually invest in Korean stock market? Buy Korean ETFs, right? This is the ETF database webpage, and they show you two Korean ETFs, right? Korean stock market ETF. One is from iShares. It derives from MSCI indices, and this one from FTSE, Franklin FTSE South Korea ETF. Okay, all right. Um, okay, now anyhow, ETF database sort of classifies South Korea as developed Asia Pacific. Okay, developed Asia Pacific. But up until now, it's not included in the developed market. Only Japan is included. So I'm gonna one by one compare with first Japanese ETF, which is EWJ, Taiwanese ETF, EWT, and Korean ETF, EWY. Okay, right. The reason why I'm comparing those three ETFs is because they are the hard manufacturing basis of the whole world, actually, right? The thing is, Taiwan is famous for its foundry business, right? Um, TSMC is doing great job in making so many sophisticated semiconductors. Their clients are Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, right? So many companies rely on manufacturing their semiconductors by the Taiwanese company TSMC, right? It also is probably the first biggest component of the ETF SMH, right? Which includes semiconductor companies, right? So starting from EWJ, which is the Japanese ETF, right? Let's go through it quickly, okay? Right? Anyhow, EWJ provides broad exposure to Japanese equity market, okay? All right. And then let's go through this ETF. So PR per is 15.5, right? Almost 16, okay? Almost 16, and 1.5 price to book ratio. And then let's just write down this one, okay? All right. So Japanese, I'll just write it down over here. EWJ. So PR first, and then let's write down PBR, price to book ratio. Okay, this one was about 15.5. PBR is about 1.5. Okay, we're done. All right, and then we can go to. We can also check the constituents, right? What companies they have. Majority of them are industrials, consumer cyclicals, technology. Okay, all right. Toyota, it's a car manufacturing company. Sony used to be a somewhat like Samsung Group, but now they invest more in movies and music, right? Kiens, it's related to robotics, right? Tokyo Electron, related to semiconductors, right? Recruit Holdings, okay, it's a comparatively platform company of recruiting, right? The Mitsubishi Financial, this is finance. Shinitsu Chemical, SoftBank, it's a sort of an investment company now. So still they're comparatively more tilted to legacy industrial industry, and we can see SoftBank, Kiens, Recruiting Holdings, Tokyo, trying to go for the cutting edge new technologies, right? All right, and then Taiwanese, right? Taiwanese is EWT. And let's go through the constituents. They have the TSMC, right? It's 22%. MediaTek, Hanhai, you know Hanhai, right? They're the major manufacturer of Apple, right? United Microelectronics. Other than Hanhai, majority of them are all related to semiconductors, right? So this is a heavy industry that is related to semiconductors. 57%, right? Majority of them are semiconductor related. Excuse me. So I'll write it down over here also. All right, then what about the PER and the price to book ratio? So because TSMC's earning is so good, right? Their earning is so good. If they sell 100 US dollars, their earnings is like 60 bucks, right? Per every 100 US dollars. Okay, so we definitely should invest in. This is not my recommendation, but anyhow, TSMC is such a good company, right? So PER is, let's see, okay, 14, and then PBR is about 2.1, right? Last, we have EWY, the Korean ETF, okay? All right. What companies do they have? They have, I'll go through this one go through the top 10. Samsung is 25%, Samsung Electronics. They not only do the foundry business, but they make cell phones. They're good at making washing machines, TVs. They are also the majority supplier to Apple, right? Supplying OLED, what is it? The glass for Apple phone, right? And they also are good at making 5G solutions, right? They're the competitor to Huawei and Ericsson, right? And then we have of course, they also do memory chips, right? SK Hynix also does the NAND, DRAM and NAND, right? All those memory chips. Naver is Korea's Google. They also have the social SNS service, social network service in Japan called Line, and they have worked very hard to be dominant in content business. So we call that webtoons and web fictions. Also, they're doing pretty good at Southeast Asia, right? The Samsung SDI, their battery maker, right? Kakao Corp also, this is Korea's most beloved and the dominant player regarding SNS Messenger. It's like Tencent, sort of Korean Tencent, okay? And then LG Chemical. LG Chemical also, they're going for an IPO next January, and their major business is battery producing. Okay, and then we have Hyundai Motor. You guys know Hyundai, right? Car maker, right? Okay, so Korea is comparatively diversified country. They're pretty strong in healthcare also. They have Samsung Biologics and Celltrion, which are doing biosimilars, right? And CMO. Technology. We can consider these two semiconductor companies, and then Naver and Kakao, they're also platform companies, right? And then we have the battery companies also. And then these are motor companies. So it's a pretty diverse, Japan has comparatively less amount of technology, while Taiwan is too much tilted to only foundry business. Not only foundry, they have the fabless business, but any of fabless, America is way much stronger in fabless. So they're sort of the manufacturing base, right, of semiconductors. Right? So there's too much tilted to semiconductor. Korea is sort of diversified tech, and they have the batteries, the semiconductors, the foundry, the memories. Also, they have the automobiles, right? Unless Tesla, if we take out Tesla, I think Hyundai is the best car maker doing well in EVs, right? So it's a better portfolio and manufacturing country, right? What I'm saying is the TSMC, when they make those semiconductors, the majority of them has to be sold to China, right? Because the semiconductor itself can't do anything, right? It has to be inside a cell phone or a television or some sort of electronic device, right? But Korea, they have the full power, the whole vertical supply chain structure, right? So Samsung actually can build or make cell phones in Korea with their own semiconductors, right? And they have the platform businesses also, Korea. So it's a more, I would say, mature and total business type of a country, right? So even Japan, they sell majority of their materials to China, and then China finishes the product, and then they export it to USA, right? But in Korea, you don't really have to rely that much, right? Of course, many materials they are sold to, exported to China. But that does not mean that Korean companies cannot make the final product. That's the biggest difference, okay? So I'm going to go to the last point. If you see EWY, okay? I'll write it down over here. EWY, which is Korean ETF. The PER is 13. And then price to book ratio is 1.1. Okay, let's make it 1.2. So the book value, compared to the book value, it's really cheap, okay, over here. And then if we compare it with the earnings, it's also cheap, okay? So I would say if the corporate governance issue is resolved, it has the biggest potential to give better multiples. Why not P to 20, right? That's my point, okay? If we have some time next time I'm probably going to talk about the real truth of Korean corporate governance. The tax system, the estate tax system, and the judicial system, the prosecutor's office, the political power. Probably I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 reasons why Korea's corporate governance is causing Korea discount. Thank you.